What does it take to cultivate a mindset that thrives on challenge and discomfort? And how can having the courage to be radically honest with yourself lead to the extraordinary growth and winning multiple times on the world stage?
I am trying to be more in control of myself so I don't have explosive reactions and frustrations that my parents had because they worked so hard and had 4 kids and living their life. I feel like we were shut down a lot.
What is the work?
Well, that's my question for you too. It's how would you label it? Because to me, if you label it, you limit it. I feel like before I came down to earth, my soul chose my parents and chose my situations. I fundamentally believe that this is all on purpose. If I didn't win as much, I don't know if I would have endured. I love the feeling of improvement so much because it was just there's more in me. And my potential drives me crazy in a very powerful way. I saw a friend today I've been friends since 2003. And she's like, is this so hard for you? Is this just eating at you? You're not playing? I'm like, no. But I've been blessed with so much. And it's I believe I can do these things. And I feel like if there's this sense of belief and then love for what I'm doing or curiosity, I can suffer. I'm willing to suffer.
Kerri, we have so much rich history that it feels like it's an inherent challenge to sit down with you to really understand how you've become one of the best in the world. And so I want to start and just say, how do you introduce yourself to people? I want to start in you don't know somebody, and how do you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Kerri, and I'm full of flaws. Nice to meet you.
Is that what you say? And
that's how I feel.
Flaws.
No, but I think I'm Kerri.
But that's how it feels inside. I've got a lot going on, and
I think there's 2 things in that question. One, I'm just Kerri, right? I am Kerri.
Yeah.
That's one thing. Normal, everyday Joe. And the other is, for some reason, it's I want to confess all my sins to make sure that people like me or accept me for more than just winning. You know what I'm saying?
I want them to see me more than just a winner. A gold medal winner, a bronze medal winner, a 5-time Olympian.
Yes.
And I also think there's probably something about, mark me if this is not right, but you've always been really tall. How tall are you?
6'2" and a bit.
So when you were younger, you were always just a little bit taller than all of your friends. Mm-hmm. Is that fair? The reason I'm bringing all of this up is because at some point, there's 2 things that I think are really not talked about enough for tall and athletic people at a young age. One of them is, at what point did adults treat you differently? Mark that for just a moment. Mm-hmm. But the second is, when you're taller, that there is people look at you a certain way. And when you're incredibly athletic, there's this double contour to the way they look at you. Yeah. They see you as an athlete, and then they see you as being maybe a little bit more responsible, a little bit more mature.
You're treated older.
Yeah. So what was it like growing up with your height?
I don't think I ever noticed my height. I never really paid attention to standing out. I was really, really a very shy kid, painfully shy. Mm. And so I think I don't think I wanted to be invisible. I just think I was a whisper growing up. And I don't think it was because I was afraid. I think it was just the house I grew up in, the culture I grew up in was shut your mouth, don't complain, do your best. And get the job done.
Was that out of gratitude? Shut your mouth, don't complain, because be grateful for what you have? Or was it children should be seen and not heard? Or was it look, get the job done. Go, I don't want to hear it. Go get it done.
I think it was a mentality. It's my dad said, no one wants to hear your complaints. If you ever get pulled over from a cop, don't talk a lot and give no excuses. It's just a mentality. Yeah. And I think it's the way my parents were raised. My mom was one of 8. That's a loud house and everyone had responsibilities and you didn't want to be the squeaky wheel, and I think my dad was one of 4 as well. And it's just get your shit done, and so I think that kind of transferred to the way I was raised,
How did that help you be one of the best to ever play the game?
I didn't indulge in complaining, and I think the high expectation of Kerri can do it and she will do it. She'll show up and she'll work her ass off. And
wait, there's 2 things in that. Kerri will do it, and she'll work her ass off. So the do it is, when I heard that, was get it done.
Yes.
Kerri will.
She's capable.
She'll finish. She'll be a finisher on the court.
Yes.
So was that about outcome, or are they both about the work hard piece?
The way Well, the work hard was most important, I think, fundamentally. But I think the way the child Kerri maybe translated that in my brain was, if you don't win, you're a loser. I felt like that.
Yeah,
I felt less than, and I felt my parents had and still have very high expectations of me and all of, my siblings and my family, even my children. I think that's one of the greatest gifts they gave me, because I think you grow into that, and they never felt sorry for me. They never allowed me to feel sorry for myself. I couldn't complain, so I didn't complain. And I went to work. And if I had insecurities, or if I fell short, or if I lost and I felt like a loser, which happened every time I lost, I would just get to work. When I was younger, you remember they had the presidential fitness test, right?
Yes, yeah.
If I didn't get all blue ribbons, I was devastated. And I thought my parents wouldn't love me as much.
So obviously, we know better now in the way that we parent.
Yeah.
I don't think that you're a parent who holds conditions over your 3 darlings.
No.
Your 3.
Can I just say, I don't think my parents were conditional. I think I interpreted it.
That's where I was going.
Yeah.
So this was not so much about them. It was more about the way that you so there was some sort of message that you had to be great, that you had to win.
Yeah.
And whether that was accurately filtered or kind of misguided in the filtering. So what do you think it was? Do you think it was the world around you had this thing that because of whatever, you've got to win, and if you don't, you're a loser? Or was this something that you kind of made up?
I think I made it up. I grew up in a very competitive environment. If you know my parents individually, they're gnarly athletes, and their family, it was all about being an athlete and being, a competitor and winning a lot. And growing up, my childhood was every single week and a couple times a week, I'd go and watch my parents compete, whether it was bowling or really high level co-ed softball. They were winning, and I witnessed them compete, and it was so intense, fist fights and infighting in the team, because if they just won and losing wasn't acceptable. And it was so cool to see, Doc, because it was an invitation to be great and to care and to just let it just fucking fight for stuff that was meaningful, even if it's co-ed softball, And so even when I was in 5th grade, 6th grade, playing basketball and soccer and volleyball, I felt that pressure to live how my parents lived.
So I'm trying to get under the surface a little bit about, for the parent who's listening, what are some takeaways that they can learn from you? And then some of the things that were really great. And then the second piece is things that you have converted for the modern child.
Yeah.
That is uniquely yours as well.
I think it's such a hard question, because I don't think there's any one way. And I really appreciated the way my parents raised me and my children, and I think I have a complex in me. I don't want to insult them when I say,
I'm glad you bring that up, because both my parents are alive. Both your parents are alive. And I never want to say a cross word or I want to take the best.
Because they're doing their best.
They did their best.
We're parents now, and I don't know what the hell I'm doing, but I know I love my children.
I think most people don't know what they're doing.
Right.
In life.
Right.
I don't know.
So that allows me to give grace to my parents.
There you go.
Right?
Yeah.
And I don't think they deserve it. It's they were doing their best.
Do you do that same grace for yourself?
I'm working on it. I'm really working on it.
When we first met, when was that? 2009. I don't think you had that type of grace. It was a razor's edge.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you just paused.
Well, I'm just trying to think. There's just so, my brain, there's so much, and there's so much history between you and I, and there's just so much context to all of this, And so for me, in my story, it's and my fundamental belief in life is that everything has served me. Everything was on purpose. Right. And I feel like before I came down to earth, my soul chose my parents and chose my situations. I fundamentally believe that this is all on purpose. You're not predestined, but my soul wanted to grow in certain ways. And so I chose the parents I chose, who had the framework they worked from, the mindset, my siblings, my whole situation is here to develop myself.
Yeah.
And so when I reflect on my history, whether it's as a child or as an adult, it's fuck, it was all on purpose. And it was all there to get me to this point, that I'm still working through.
So is God an active God or passive God?
He's a co-creator, so active.
Active. Not destined, meaning that...
not predestined.
Predestined. you and I were supposed to be here together. It's not that.
I believe I'm on a journey that's unfolding.
Okay.
And you're clearly, my soul called in you
Yeah.
at a time where I needed you. Like literally, like you're an angel that came down and helped me in one of the biggest times in my life in 2009, right? And
that's how
and volleyball and
Yeah.
everything I lived before 2009,
Yeah.
were leading me to this point. And I wasn't ready to ask for help earlier on, and that's something I picked up as a child. Like I literally thought for most of my life, like asking for help was a sign of weakness. And that's something that little Kerri picked up, in the environment I was in. I didn't want to be the squeaky wheel. When I was 6.5, I had a little brother who died. And I don't remember much of my childhood, but I know that changes everybody involved, and so I can only imagine what my parents went through. And then them parenting, the 3 other children that they have and all these things, So it's just, I don't know. I don't know when I found my voice. I don't know why I was so quiet. I don't know why I framed things the way I did. I know it all makes sense in the unfolding.
Yeah, I think it's really important to just honor 2000. So two things before we do 2009 is that you've grown a lot. I've been able to witness it. And I also want the listener to know that the last time you and I have done work was like years.
Too long ago.
Yeah,
Clearly.
right. No. But that's really important just from like an ethical, like this isn't like,
oh yeah.
Kerri Walsh Jennings coming on and we just did a session last week. Like it's been years since we did real work.
Yeah.
And then it turned into like this high regard and high respect. And this feels so natural to have this conversation because to celebrate everything that you've done and who you are. And also if we can put the light on the shadow side, because that's where we get to really learn.
Yeah.
But I just want the listener to know that there's no, like, it's really a safe environment to be able to have this conversation.
Well, and, this has been a long time coming and I'm so honored to be here. And it's just, I listened to your very first episode and I've been along for the ride.
Yeah,
it's been fun to
so
watch you grow,
yeah.
And I listened to your podcast and I put myself in your guest like this position and I'm like, fuck, I don't want that. Like it's so intense to me.
Hard.
And you do such a good job of getting the gems out of people through their story. Like I feel like I'm like self-editing right now. Like Kerri, say something meaningful, and it's like fuck. And
that actually is meaningful. When people are telling the truth, it happens.
Yeah, I bet. Mm-hmm. I bet. But I get in my own way. So anyhow, I just know how to be. My goal in life that you taught me is just to be in the moment and let it rip. Like you've helped me do so much personal work and I've dropped so much baggage and so much weight because of the work we've done together. And it's such a gift and it's hard to speak to.
Yeah, it is. I know this, like when I do the work is that like a friend or a loved one will say, so how was the session that you just did? And it's like, I don't know how, like so much just happened.
Right.
Even if like not a lot was actually said, so much happens that it's nearly impossible to try to convey it.
Yes.
So all that being said is what is the work?
Well, that's my question for you too. It's like, how would you label it? Because to me, if you label it, you limit it. And to me, there's...
Wait, what does that mean? If you label it?
If you label it, you put it in this sweet little box, like that's the work. And this is A, B, and C. And that's not how it fucking goes. Like you and I have never been linear. Like even this conversation, right? It's like all over the place because that's the way the heart and the mind works. And I think there needs to be freedom for that. And I think for myself personally, I think I judge myself because I'm not linear and I feel scattered. When I do want to be buttoned up to a certain extent.
It's interesting because it's probably where sport really helps you is that, track the ball.
Yes.
Right.
Totally.
Like that's like, there's one job on serve receive, if you will.
Yeah. And then rep it out.
Yeah. Right.
I'm a reps girl. I need a lot of reps.
Yeah.
Yeah. And because then it becomes intuitive. And
so you don't have to think anymore. It becomes automatic. But you work laterally when you think. So you'll work more like a tapestry.
It's a kind way to say it.
Yeah. Well, it's like that over there, and then this idea. It's related, and it's not like an engineer's mind, which is like keep going until I can find the flaw in the logic or the break in the argument.
Yeah. No. And nothing about me is literal. Yeah. Even when I think I'm being literal.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah,
I know.
It's super abstract.
I think
it's good.
so.
It's good. But self-awareness is really important. But you snuck in there that I critique and judge myself.
Yeah.
What does that look like or sound like for you?
Well, like real time, I'm like, what the heck are you saying? He's asking great things and you're in this with them, but what are you saying and where are you going? And I think that's just fear of not doing it right.
What do you want to say to people if there was like one thing that you hope that somebody would leave from this conversation or a conversation that you have with them, or a long-term relationship that you have with them?
What I want someone to say after they listen to this conversation.
Yeah.
She can do it, I can fucking do it.
That's so good.
Well,
yeah, right. It's like, yeah, like, well, so we said that, hi, I'm Kerri, I have flaws.
It's so weak. Can I just stop you? Because
weak?
it all sounds weak. Everything coming out of my mouth sounds weak. And I don't
it's
like
interesting
it.
because my experience is it sounds free.
Does it?
Yeah.
Time out. Okay, I'm so glad you said
Yeah.
that, because part of me is like, maybe I want to confess my sins early on.
Yeah.
Because it like gives me some cover.
Well,
Do you think that's part of it?
No, well, that's why I went to your height, and then this people looking at you at a different way at a young age. And I didn't get to the second question: is when did adults start treating you differently because of your talent?
Yeah.
And what ends up happening, when you're tall and athletic, and there's a lot of success happening, and adults are treating you differently, there's this wonderful and sometimes overwhelming spotlight that happens for our kids. And then because of that, there's these, and then your family had this, you use the word expectations, there's this thing that I have to be a certain way to be okay.
Yeah.
And I see you when you say, hi, I'm Kerri and I have flaws, saying, look, I'm done with holding on to that way of living. I want to be free.
Yeah.
And I recognize that too. Like when
Dude, seriously.
No, I seriously, like, I don't want to be seen as if I don't have flaws and make mistakes.
Or that you have all the answers. Like,
well,
it's
that's
impossible. So fair.
All I have is questions.
Well, what a
That's
gift.
really, I think we all have a lot of questions.
Yeah.
And I guess what I also get in return is people who trust me to ask questions.
Well, the lack of judgment that you've shown me over
Lack
that.
of judgment. I have lack of judgment. Oh,
No,
critique and judgment.
sorry, judging me and my story or my
Wait,
vulnerabilities.
no, yeah.
Your judgment is great.
Yeah,
You're very
right.
discerning.
Yes.
No, you've shown me so much, and this is a very safe space for sure.
Lack of
Safer
critique and
than
judgment.
in my own head.
Yeah.
You know, and I think the beautiful thing about you is that I get to speak out loud and be like, okay, that felt weak. Like, I don't like to say stupid shit like that.
But I don't think it's about me. I think it's about the work. That part is the work, is that when I stop editing myself, or I'm more aware of the editing that I have going on, I feel more free. That's the work.
Yeah. I'll persevere through those hard moments.
You've had a lot.
Yeah.
You've done a lot.
Yeah, it's been awesome. You know, and part of me, I want to go back to what you said about when kids grow early and how they're treated differently.
By adults.
Yeah. It hurts my heart when I see a 10-year-old kid who looks like he's 15 and people treat him that way.
That's right.
It's so wrong to me.
You know that.
I don't know. I don't remember that at all. Because I always didn't feel tall enough, to be honest. You know, like I wanted to be more.
Yeah.
But my dad, you know, I talked to my dad a while ago and I had two questions. Like, Dad, I was like, well, did I always work real hard? Did I always go the extra mile? And he laughed at me. He's like, absolutely not. He's like, that maybe showed up maybe your junior year in high school. Because I have a 14-year-old, 15-year-old, and they just, you know, they're kind of nonchalant about it, but they want to be great. And in my head, I was like, I was great.
I was always
but like, it was so great. He laughed at me because I'm like, good. Now I can give my kids more space to be kids, which I want them to be kids, you know?
That is really cool.
And then something else, we're talking about, you know, kids who grow early, develop early. And he's like, babe, I'm so happy you grew later, because the moment you were taller and just noticeably excellent, they rode you and your shoulder almost fell off. And they just coaches and
over specialization.
They can't help but lean on you. And it's like a pitcher having a pitch count. You have no pitch count, Kerri.
Yeah.
And when you're excellent, when you can handle the load, they think, then, you know, that goes out the window. And so he's like, I'm glad that you grew late. Not that I was good pretty early. I showed promise early. But I think the bigger I got, the more I took up space, like, and I wanted it. Like, I wanted that responsibility. Mm-hmm. But anyhow, I think me growing late did a couple things for me. I think it made me focus on the fundamentals, which if you're tall early, you can be sloppy, you get away with it. Which is terrible. It's a disservice.
That's totally
Coaches
right.
need to know that.
Yes.
Right? And my family was very big on fundamentals if you want to be the best.
So wait, what you just slipped it in that coaches should know that, meaning, or coaches need to know that, meaning that if you've got a tall athlete, like, hammer the fundamentals.
Oh my God, even more so.
Yeah, don't let height get in the way of like fundamental growth.
Yes, because you're doing them a disservice.
Yeah, it's
right?
super simple.
And it's super simple. Like, yes. And I think they feel pressure to make them like excellent in the, like Casey always says, do the ABCs, my husband, right?
Yeah.
He says, if you can kick ass in the ABCs, which in my sport, it's like footwork and ball control, passing, setting, like the basics of the craft. If you can just be consistent in all those things, then you earn the right to live in the XYZ space. But kids these days are just starting from the 3-point line. They're not even doing layups anymore. You know, like they're starting like trying to dunk. My son Joey is trying to dunk, and it's just like, babe, like let's just, get your form down. So, but I think the pressure is, to kind of create a pro athlete when they're 10, and it's nonsense. It's not fair.
So what have you converted from the lessons that you learned early on and now converted to be, to have an approach for your kids? Let me preface it this way, is that, my parents made plenty of mistakes. I'm going to make plenty of mistakes.
Yes.
I'm just principle based. Like I'm just going to try not to make the same mistakes.
Yeah.
I want them to be net new.
Sure.
I want them to make new mistakes. Yeah. So what are you shifting or changing?
I am trying to be more in control of myself, so I don't have explosive reactions. I feel like there's a lot of explosive reactions and like frustrations that my parents had because they worked so hard and had 4 kids and living their life. Like I feel like we were shut down a lot.
Got it.
Yeah. And I don't want that because I don't want the last thing my kids hear at night is go the F to bed, or if I spill something, you idiot, and that's what happened, and that's okay. Like it's just life. Mm-hmm. But those things really hurt me. I think in hindsight, they really hurt me, and they kept me like, I'm afraid to make a mistake. Even the littlest human thing.
Do you think that helps you be great?
Yes.
The fear of making a mistake, the anxiety of whatever?
I played in failure. I was so afraid of failure. I didn't play in failure. I was so afraid of failure for a majority of my life, even my pro life, for sure. Mm-hmm. And it made me really, really good. And then after we lost in Rio, to skip way forward, that didn't serve me. It just minimized me. It made me so weak. Lost in Rio.
That's an interesting framing by taking a bronze medal.
Well, you know what I'm talking about. We won the bronze. It's like a huge moment, huge victory, but we lost to get there.
I just want to, if people knew what I knew about what it takes to do what you've done, I don't think they'd be pushing their kids at all. It's really hard. It is.
Yes.
Go ahead.
No, go.
Yes.
No.
No, the washout is radical. The tension, the chronic tension to be on the edge of being your very best is very hard. And that the anxiety you're talking about, that self-critique is a very normal mix, but most people don't get the winning that you got.
Yeah.
And so then the washout is what do you have? You've got I'm not good enough. I'm really anxious. I'm really critical of myself, and I don't feel good about me. And I didn't get that's 7% of the world.
A lot.
Yeah.
If I didn't win as much, I don't know if I would have endured, to be honest. Yeah. That's one thing. But the other thing is that I love the feeling of improvement so much. And I love the pursuit.
That's a counterbalance. That's really interesting for you.
Because it was just there's more in me. And my potential drives me crazy in a very powerful way.
Speaking a word of that.
It's just, it provokes me, and it's just I know I'm inherently, I have so many tools to work with, and you help me recognize so many more tools, intangible tools, that to work with. But I've been blessed with so much, and it's I believe I can do these things. And I feel if there's this sense of belief and then love for what I'm doing or curiosity, I can suffer. I'm willing to suffer mentally, emotionally, physically, because I believe in where I can go.
Do you use your imagination to see what next year could look like? No, so you don't.
I'm after a feeling.
What does that
I'm
mean?
chasing a feeling of competency, of confidence in the moment, of fluidity, of that felt good.
Yeah.
And when I work with Marcio, who you're working with the
coach.
Team Canada, sorry, this is all over the place.
Yeah.
But he's that's what good looks like. I would have a pass and he'd be Kerri, that's what good looks like. And I asked him to reinforce the good, right? And he would say that. I'm but Marcio didn't feel good. So it looks good, but it didn't feel good. And I'm after the feeling of good,
Yeah, probably both.
Yeah.
Right?
You think they'd be hand in hand, though.
But not always. Sometimes it's mechanical and you're thinking, and and so it gets in the way of the flow state. It came out of Dr. Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, interviewing a bunch of people about asking what was it like when you're at your best. And it kept coming back like there's this fluid nature. So he just coined the term flow state.
It's so good.
Yeah. And so that's what you're describing, right? It's just like,
Yeah.
it's not like digital. There's like an analog sweeping kind of motion about it. It's not like
Sure.
click,
Yes,
click,
yes.
click.
Well, to me, I say that I'm like when I feel like I'm dancing on the court, it feels like I'm in flow state.
Yeah.
Because it's just, oh, the ball rose, who cares? Here I am.
There.
And it fell, and there I am. And I shanked it, it's okay, let me fix it. You know, that kind of mentality, and then that kind of physicality that comes with that.
How do you balance that like critical, gotta be great, gotta win, like a fear of whatever, like that intensity, razor's edge sharpness with what you just did, which is like there's a contour to being rounded and smooth and flowy. How do you do that?
It just fed into each other. Like I felt that tension at all times in training and in every game.
And in every game?
Yeah. It's just like, you know, but I'm not consciously being like this is so stressful, this is so pressure, I can't fail. It's like I'm here, like I'm gonna compete, and I have so much fun competing, and just this one play is so fun, you know. And I'm hitting left front now, like I get to pass and I get to go hit if the ball comes to me, and it's just kind of cracking the egg in the moment. Like all of that was so
Is that
fun.
how you see it?
That's how I think that's how I lived it.
Is that like more of a puzzle that you're trying to solve, or more a tapestry that you're weaving? Super artistic words that I'm choosing.
It's super intuitive. Like if I'm thinking, I'm in trouble, you know. So I think it's more artsy than it is. I'm not a strategic person at all.
So how do you turn the critic down to get to the intuitive flow responder up?
For so long, like if I made, like I'm just playing. I love playing, right? And I think if I made a mistake, I'd be like, fucking Kerri. And then I'd reset, you know, and it was all very quick, and not like you suck, you're the worst in the world. It's like, that sucked. Here we go.
I think it's important that you say that, because there's this notion that you have to always be positive. I don't agree with that at all.
Yeah.
I need a lightning rod.
Sure.
I need a way to let go.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's like a slap. It's like I say the same things to myself. It's something. And then after that lightning rod moment, then I'll come back around and be like, all right, put it together now.
Yeah.
Track the ball or what.
That becomes the reset.
That becomes the reset. That's the triggering of the reset.
I think
some
so.
people don't though. They fuck that,
No,
and then
right.
they just stay there. And and it's like the toilet bowl. Yeah, we all.
But it's such a full conversation, because it's just like all of this is so personal, and it's so in the moment, you know. And so my experience is so different than your experience, and what I did after play A is probably different than play B, because it's just whatever I'm in the moment, whatever momentum is carrying me.
Wait, this is really important. It's so personal. So, and you're looking for the feeling of what?
The feeling of, to me, like, so I'm a volleyball player, right? I'm talking volleyball right now. So the feeling of being able to handle what's in front of me, like,
to meet the moment. I love
to meet the moment, I guess so.
Yeah.
Which is a physical execution.
That's right.
Yes.
Well, there's a harmony. You can't separate physical and mental.
No, 100%.
Like we like to think that you can.
That's what we see.
Yeah, but so it's a full togetherness to meet whatever the moment is giving you. And are you trying to execute or be artistic?
I'm trying to do whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes to get the ball done. Yeah, all done.
What's it like to be here 20 years since you've won your first medal?
It's pretty rad. It's really incredible. It makes me emotional to think about, because what a ride, you know, and I'm so excited for all the athletes who are going to compete. I saw a friend today I've been friends since 2003. And she's like, is this so hard for you? Is this just eating at you? You're not playing? I'm like, no. When I retired, I was like, God, can you please just make it clear that I'm done? And the way everything's unfolded, it's very clear. You know, if there was like this much, oh, you can do it, Kerri, I'd be holding on to it, but it's very clear, you know. So to be here and now to be able to celebrate the games and to feel compassion for all the athletes and what they're going through, like every stage is so fun. Like we're right before the opening ceremonies. Yeah. Like I remember that excitement. It's a kid in a candy store. Like all is possible and everything's perfect right now, you know, and then the next stage is, oh shit, here we go. You know, and it's just really fun to kind of relive those emotions, and it makes me really grateful to have lived it, you know.
When you think back to the full career that you've had, do you have highlights that stick out to you that are like really special? even ones that maybe the world watched or not.
Yeah.
Like, what are the ones that come up even in this conversation? It's not like you pegged them. Like, my number one memory is, or my number three memory. But like, what comes up when I say things that were special?
It's just the whole thing, like all of it. Even the stuff that makes me want to cry, even the stuff where my heart was broken, I felt betrayed, like I failed on the world stage, like all of it is so meaningful to me, you know, like truly.
So the fullness
of it.
Yeah.
Because it's incomplete if I were just to pick the moments, you know. I mean, there's moments on the road where it was just Misty and I and
Misty May Trainer,
who is just, you know, one of my heroes and my partner forever. And it was just her and I being silly girls and like best moment ever. You know, and I can say that like just throughout my whole career, there were just life moments shared with important people, you know, that trumped all of the winning and all that. That being said, like on the job, like I love training. I loved working out so hard. I loved all the people that I put around me that I was blessed to have around me, whether it was my trainers or you or Misty or my Casey, my husband. Like I was surrounded by, and currently still am, amazing humans who helped me to become, you know, so the becoming of all of it outweighs those moments that, you know, supposedly stand out more.
You sound like a philosopher now. Becoming, you know, like, yes.
So I'm on a mission to become, Doc. It's exhausting because there's a lot of insecurity. That I'm right here, right now. And there's so much more potential, which is so great. But there's a quote that I love. It's like, be happy with where you satisfied with now, eager for more. I love that. You know, and like to me, like winning is being satisfied with the job that you did. You know, whether you're satisfied with the preparation or you lived the journey well or you won, like there's lots of different ways to win, but like feeling satisfied when you're done, that's what I'm aiming for in life. Definitely
John Wooden's definition of winning.
Yeah.
You know, like when your head hits a pillow at night, you know, this way, but when your head hits a pillow at night, like, did you really give it your all?
Yeah.
And that would be one of the great coaches ever.
Oh.
Like, and so you're saying, you're saying the same thing.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you were to take that day by day, I failed on most of the days, you know, like I don't think I went to bed fully satisfied very often. However, you put the days together, it's like, oh, you did good, kid.
So
you know?
Why would you say you failed more often than not?
Well, just because it's, you know, it's like I'm an imperfect human and, you know, I want to live my journey very, very well and be connected in every moment. And I F up all the time, you know?
Right.
That type of thing.
So if it's not perfect, what is good enough to live a good
something that feels okay? Like I just want to feel good about it. You know, like even when I messed up, if I'm an asshole to my husband and it's, you know, I had a great day on the court and I come home and I'm a jerk to my husband because I'm sensitive to something he says and I could have handled that better. It's like,
My personal philosophy, which I've shared with you, is every day is an opportunity to create a living masterpiece. When I say, what is a living masterpiece to you? How do you start to think about it?
The first thing that came to mind is it's all love. And I think those brush strokes have to happen in the moment. You know, it's, again, there's nothing strategic about it. You know, I think people might say a masterpiece, you have to know every stroke and know the structure and know where you're going. But I think it just comes in living in it, you know?
I think part of a living masterpiece is fully loving and embracing the unfolding, unpredictable unknown. Yes. And then being able to work with that and not be so flooded by the anxiety of not knowing and the anxiety that it needs to be just right, but work with that in a way that allows you to express net new, not repeat what you've done, but express net new. And then that's so, like, for me, energizing. Yeah. And for me, it doesn't require a still canvas. Some people will have a still canvas and paint and colors, and that's amazing. Mine is with people. So, yeah. So then there's this other dynamic where it's like, I don't know what the other person's going to say or do or respond. And that, for me, is a forcing function to be really present.
Totally.
Yeah. So it's
well, it's so cool. There's all these mechanisms that I think we set up in our lives, maybe pursuing your greatness and your craft. Like, people are involved in that, and that makes your experience so much more dynamic and your perspective so much more dynamic that you wouldn't have in any other craft.
Yeah.
And for me, my sport has been the mechanism to my personal growth, which I just want to keep developing, you know, and take volleyball away. Obviously, I would have to find something else to sharpen myself with. Now I think that I'm retired. I've had one North Star for my whole life, and that North Star has shifted, and I don't have a new one yet. So when people say, what's your craft now? What's your North Star? It's like becoming the best me I can be. What the fuck does that mean? And what's the mechanism that I use to get the best out of myself?
Yeah. So
scattered.
And I don't want to miss that. Like mastery of self and mastery of craft are related and separate.
Yeah.
And what I just heard you say is that I use my craft to really work on mastering of self through mastery of craft.
Yes.
So the craft is like, it just happens to be volleyball.
The tool.
Yeah. And so, but you're also saying like, I'm not sure what it is right now.
No.
I don't know what it is.
Yeah. And I don't want to regurgitate. And I don't want to feel like it has been. And there's all, like, if I'm at like ground zero, tabula rasa, you know, it's like, it's all, I have this beautiful fresh canvas in front of me. And part of me, why I like that is because like, fuck, I can do anything, you know, in the unknown, like there's limitless possibilities. But then I'm like, I don't know how to do that. And I have all these tools that I've earned and that I have. And I just had this realization, I get to bring those with me.
So
and then
which one's transport?
All of them.
Well, not hitting a ball at whatever miles an hour.
No, but the dedication and determination. To
Okay,
become
dedication
great.
does.
Yes.
Okay. Do you use dedication and commitment?
Both.
You use dedication?
More devotion.
Devotion?
No, commitment to me is more powerful than dedication.
Well, I don't know. Like, they all have a little bit different energy around
do,
them.
yeah.
And they mean something technically as a scientist, they're different, but...
Sure. Well, I wouldn't know those subtleties.
Well, commitment, you can have short-term and long-term commitment.
Yeah.
And dedication is really something over the long haul.
Okay.
Yeah.
To me, there's a quote that I love. It says, the decision is the most important part of the journey.
Yeah.
If I've decided I'm committed, I'm devoted, I'm dedicated, I'm in.
So you use both of those, committed and dedicated, in a way. So I think you're probably using commitment like it's a short-term. Like, let me give an example. When my son is crying, when he's 18 months old or whatever, 9 months old, I am not motivated to get out of bed at 2:30 or whatever it is in the morning, but I'm committed to be a great dad or a great partner to my wife. And so that's like commitment, I think, is such a strong way to go through life.
Yeah.
And it feels like I don't know, it just gets kind of morphed a little bit. But dedication and commitment for you are big. What else?
They are.
What translates?
Well, and just, it's like a new choice every single day to like honor that commitment. You know,
So,
and I think
a fundamental choice is what you're talking about, or small micro choices?
well, following through on your fundamental choice, whatever decision you've made.
And how do you do that? How do you decide what the bigger fundamental choices?
Well, I think knowing what my priorities are, knowing what I want to accomplish, that's like the structuring mechanism.
Okay.
Right. And then, I mean, my whole life was structured because I wanted to become the best I can be in volleyball. Right. And that was beautiful because it gave me this structure, and I work really well when I'm very disciplined, you know, and then there's a sense of freedom that comes because I do it every day. I'm committed every single day in body, mind, and spirit.
Do you think you're better at trust of self or trust of others? You could be high on both.
Good question.
Or you could be low on both.
I believe in people
You do.
very much.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's the same thing as trust.
Probably pretty close. Like, you believe that people are going to do the right thing.
I do. I believe in people. I'm fundamentally a trusting human.
High trust.
High trust. High trust.
Of self or others.
I think when it comes down to it, I trust myself very much. You know, I feel like that inner critic in me is very shallow, and it nothing goes to my soul and hurts me when I'm critical. But
Super interesting.
I have lived death by 1,000 paper cuts, by a million. Kerri, come on, you know, and just like all these little slights that I allow, or which I really want to get out of.
Is trust earned or built?
I want to say built, because I give everyone my trust. Like, I'm like, I see the world and people as like, I'm you. We're the same.
Yeah.
I trust people like deeply, inherently, and when they knock me on my ass when they're
So if we all lived in your world, we wouldn't lock doors.
no.
Because
Yeah.
don't go to places that aren't yours. That's not yours. Don't touch it.
Yeah, and then when people are human, then you got to build that trust back.
Yeah. Okay. So trust is, you did both. Like, I give trust, you give trust.
It has to be warranted.
So is trust given or is trust earned?
Fuck.
Maybe I asked that. I don't know now, but like, what do you think?
Well, my brain hears what it wants
We'll
to
try
hear.
it new.
Okay, is it earned?
Given
is it
or earned?
Fuck. I feel like I have to earn it
For yourself or for other people?
in general.
Mm-hmm.
What do I do with other people? I just trust a lot of people. So
Yeah, I think you give it.
yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
And I do, yeah. I was gonna say I do
and
trust
Lisa.
myself, but I'm just hard on myself, or I don't know what I am with myself. It's so lame. But I would choose.
Do you trust you?
I would choose to pick me on a team in a lineup. I would choose to be
in
on my own
volleyball
team
or
in life.
basketball, painting,
all of it. I'm a fucking fighter. I'm a competitor,
mother,
and I love it. Yes,
that is a really cool frame. Like, would you pick yourself?
right.
That's high trust.
Yes,
That's like you. So you back yourself. Even though you might kind of get, you
every
might
day.
kind of like pick at yourself or whatever.
Every day.
But you back yourself. Like, I'm gonna bring it.
Yes.
Very cool.
Yeah. And I'm willing to put myself out there to F up because I know I'll grow into it, and I think that's a really beautiful thing about high performers, because you have to have that courage to put yourself out there to look like a freaking idiot. Because every time you like level up, I feel like an idiot again.
So this is really important, is that the amount of vulnerability and risk taking in practice and publicly sometimes is more than what most people would ever get a real dose at. Like, to really put yourself, if you want to get better at something, you've got to put yourself in a situation where you don't know how to do it.
Got it.
And sometimes that's public. You mentioned earlier the team. So there's the team that supports you.
Yes.
How do you go about, one, like every discipline's different. Like there's like, I don't know, most people are not going to have an ATC or like a medical trainer or a physical therapist or strength and conditioning or sports psych. Like, so how do you go about picking the people that you want to work with or that you want part of your team?
I feel like a handful of them just fell in my lap and I was blessed and it was a fit. And like my trainer, Tommy Knox, who I don't believe in having heroes, but if I had one, it'd be him.
Amazing.
I mean, Casey and I worked with him for 20 years. For 20 years, I drove 3 hours almost every Tuesday, Thursday to be with him. Hour plus down, hour plus back, just to train with him, because he lives it. He's like the embodiment of you can do it. You're like no regression. You're always getting better. There's new ways to attack it. Like,
That is a great word for him. Like he lives that.
Oh, fuck yeah. And that's like my mission in life, Doc, is to live the embodiment of whatever highest self, favorite self I believe is in me. Like, I want to live that. That's really important to me. And I feel like I'm a fraud a lot, but anyhow, I have Tommy. I mean, you are one of those people. Like, you just fit. Like, I had people who I thought it was a fit, rode out with a couple of years and it wasn't a fit.
Well, we were introduced by somebody that we trust. Yeah. And
Yes.
it's Rachel. Yeah.
When someone I love and trust, and the person who introduced us is someone who I know will not lie to me. When someone I love and trust says, go try this person out, I'm going to be like, yes.
Got it.
Okay.
Yeah,
My favorite thing to find amazing people is like through word of mouth from people I love, and this person, she was like, Kerri, I went to him for volleyball and he helped me in my life. And I was like, well, my life is falling apart. So in comes an answer to a prayer.
Right. So yes, okay, we can do a little bit deeper concentration and pre-performance routines and pre-serve routines, and how do you let go of a mistake and goal setting and imagery. You can do all that stuff. Breathing.
Which is so helpful.
All good. All good for all that part.
For life.
If you know how to translate it, right? And you don't just stay in a box.
Sure.
Like I used imagery for sport. How do I use my imagination for life? Common crosswalks.
People don't do that?
I think sometimes we just put everything in a box.
Okay.
And then when the world kind of kicks that box, like you can't play in that sandbox anymore, that it feels like all of those 25 years of investing in tools are like gone out the window. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's heavy.
Yeah. But athletes know how to take risks better, be coached better than most, be on time better than most, be great teammates to each other. Like there's a lot of narcissism in sport. There's a lot of OCD and anxiety and like intolerance.
What's your favorite type of athlete to work with?
Honest ones.
Okay.
Honest.
Okay. And then like
not sport. It's just like, have you made the commitment to get to the truth?
How do you know if a person, like I believe the quote, like people can only meet you at the depth of they're at?
That's right.
Like, so one of my biggest fears is that I'm full of shit. Like all the time I'm like, am I full of shit? Like literally, am I just saying this because I've said it for 20 years, but it's not true now?
But another way of looking at it is that you're calibrating yourself, like constantly calibrating. Like what is being your best? It's like these tiny little micro choices.
So nuanced.
It's not as simple as did I choose the apple or the apple pie. It's so personal, to use your word earlier, which I love. And at the same time, it's these tiny little micro choices.
Yeah.
So how do I know? Well, I'm just listening.
Well, you keep digging.
I'll just keep going. Oh, that's interesting. Let me go look.
What do you mean? My least favorite question. I don't know what I mean.
Yeah, I don't know.
Get up.
I barely know.
Well, whatever. When you were just talking, it just made me think of like I've studied a lot of the greats, right? Ali and Jordan and Kobe and Misty. Like I've studied so many of them. And when you hear Jordan,
so awesome that you put Misty in there.
Oh, she's
your
so
partner.
I know. She's so rad. Well, she is one of my first heroes. Got her autograph when I was 13 or 14.
Oh, you did?
Oh, 100%. She's a year older than me, and she was like it for me.
What is the good life? When you think about the good life, how do you think about it? You've won it all now.
Well, words like playful come to mind.
Yeah.
Like the combination of playful seriousness, which is like a Bruce Lee thing, like that to me is like a perfect combination.
Yeah.
You know, and I wish I was more playful in my life.
Do you know what this year is for me?
What?
The year of play.
Shut your mouth.
Yeah.
How are you doing with it?
So I want to be more like a panda. So there's no predators that like they're just like they're just going with life and how it goes. I do feel like I'm not threatened in most of my experiences. Like I'm trying not to come from like a threat perspective, but more like approaching openness and whatever. So
and that's new.
Is it new? I know how to work really hard and be intense, and that comes from more of a not knowing if I'm good enough. So that's where my early stuff came from. And then so it served me well in some ways, but I had to figure out how to put down that hatchet, you know? And so I feel like this year I've done it. Last year was the year of play.
Yeah.
This year is the year of play again. So I needed a repeat.
Got it. Yeah.
I needed a redo.
Shit, habits are hard.
Yeah, I think that they are. So I don't know.
And when you like your work, it's just, you know.
Yeah, it's a little different. Like with you, you know, here at the games, like, I mean, it's got a different, this feels comfortable and whatever.
Yeah.
So it's a good bark for playfulness.
Wasn't your earlier podcast interviews, but Toto Wolff?
Oh, Mercedes,
yeah.
Yeah, principal.
So he said something kind of akin to, I was always suspicious of my success. Like there was something where his success, it didn't sit well in him. And I was like, fuck, that's exactly how I feel. And he put it like, please look that up because that quote is powerful.
Okay, I'll tag it.
And I hate that I don't remember. But it's just the journey. It's so crazy, like the best of the best of the best. And you think they have nothing and you have done everything like the highest level. It's so cool to know it's a journey. I love that so much. Yeah. And the way I look at potential now, because now that I'm a mom, because every time my kids F up or they fail, like game-winning shot or, you know, they're whatever, something is on the line and they don't do it, I'm like, oh, baby, this is going to make you so good if you let it. Like that was a repetition. That's so valuable. You know, now let's work on it. And I wish I had that self-talk when I was competing, but I have it now. And now as I go into this next, you know, stage of my life, like now where I feel weak, I'm like, okay, that's potential. And if I want it, I will develop it. You know, it makes me a better parent.
So you're doing two things. You're holding the idea of what they could be, like in a sacred way. And then what you're doing is you're reframing in an optimistic lens. Like, this is going to be great. I know it stings right now. Yeah. And this is going to be so important for you. Feel it, or like, we'll do this together or whatever. So you're using optimism, but you're holding their potential as something aspirational and wonderful to pursue rather than, because potential can go both ways.
Yeah.
You had all the potential, you're blowing it. You have all the potential, you have all the tools, you know, but you'll never understand your potential.
No,
as opposed to like, look, your potential is like, it's an ever ending pursuit. Yeah. Keep going.
I hope that the latter expression you just said, I hope I lead with that with my children forever. Yeah. You know, our oldest Joey is like a ninja. He's incredible. Like whatever it is, like the factor, he has it. And I think he projects, he feels the pressure of greatness. And it's a big responsibility.
Well, his dad's a professional.
I don't know if it's that.
Mom was like the best that played the game.
Yeah. Perhaps, yeah.
Spotlight
but
or
Joey
shadow?
Is Joey. Like it's just, he takes his own space. Like people will go to games just to watch Joey. Like,
so he's really good.
He's really good. And I think he's afraid of making a mistake, or he feels like if he doesn't win or if he makes a mistake, that's not okay. And he's so hard on himself. And that will make him great, but it'll make him miserable. Well, fuck that. No. Well, and that's a big fear. I hope I didn't give that to him. And then my Sundance is so critical.
But of course, we give what we have.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't want to hear that.
No,
I
of
give,
course.
I
It
give
is what it is.
like that.
Yeah.
So I just don't want to make the same mistakes. But all I know how to do is give what I have. If I'm anxious and intolerant and frustrated, like the other day, Grayson says to me, I caught some cold and it was a chest cough or whatever. And I was really in kind of a funk. And the next day or 2 days later, he goes, "Hey, Dad, what's it like to be so moody?"
Did it help the situation or hurt the
It's so
situation?
funny.
That's so cute.
Yes, it just,
Well, those moments of awareness that our kids give us are just so priceless.
But my point is, what I was giving was
Totally.
frustration, intolerance, like moodiness, And so, 3 gold medals, 1 bronze. To win, to be the best in the world for that long is radical. And you guys, just for the listener who doesn't know, like, what was it, 1 full year, 2 years maybe that you didn't even lose a game?
I don't remember, but over a year for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. You lose a match.
A match.
We lost games.
Yeah. Your coach at the time, Marcio, who I'm fortunate to work with right now, we were walking and talking, and he says, he goes, "Mike, what does this remind you of? 21-12, 21-9, 21-14, and these are your scores of your games."
Yeah.
And now
So
games
good.
are like,
Yeah.
21-19, and it's like, whew, okay.
Yeah.
But you were literally
And we were dominant.
dominant.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
And it was so cool with Marcio because I did 2 Olympics with him, with Misty and then with April. And at some point he's like, "Kerri, like, expect to win, but the games are not going to be 21-9 anymore. Like, you got to get uncomfortable with being in those moments where it's 2020 more often."
Yeah.
And it was just
23.
totally like just as long as it takes. And of course, like I logically know that, but it was so cool for him to say that because then some place inside of me steeled myself for that. Like when it's 19 all, like you can't get nervous because this is the way it is, And I really needed to hear that. He does good with cut through the BS.
Yeah, I mean, the art of coaching is so awesome. Like when you really understand somebody, yeah. And how did he help you frame, and how did you and Casey and you yourself frame the hard times, the coming up short, the whether you won or lost or whatever? Like, how did you guys frame those?
You're asking Marcio and Casey or just me in general?
Actually, take your coaches and family out of it for a minute. Like, how do you reframe?
It didn't happen that often.
No, it didn't.
It really
You're right.
didn't. And so, I think of one time where it happened. 2 times where it happened in a big way. So Misty and I lost the world championships. We were at 14-11 in the third, and we lost in the finals. That was a big loss. And it helped us to win gold in the Olympics a year later.
In London.
Yes,
London.
because we
Yeah.
suffered that loss in the finals.
I don't remember this.
It was like a moment of reckoning. We had to work through that. And shit, are we not the best anymore? And like, what do we want to do here? And so that was a big part. It served us, And then the
It
fast.
knocked a little calcium off.
Yeah.
Yeah, like,
Probably, for sure. Yeah.
That muscle of tension, and like, because you guys are so good for so long.
Yeah.
Okay, the second one.
The second one was in Rio. When April and I, when we lost the semifinal match, and it was crushing. Absolutely crushing. Like identity crushing for me. And I never sat down and really talked to April about it, and I think I would love to, because I have no idea. I think I was so self-involved and just took the loss entirely that it was my fault that I never talked to her about it, and I don't think I was able to give her any compassion or love.
So this is, if you win this match, you go on to play the gold medal match, and you got served a lot. Is this what you're talking about?
Yeah.
And in an uncanny way, balls were coming off your arms like
The fundamental thing in our sport, which is passing, was not happening.
Like what? Oh, well, that's weird.
Yeah.
Serve her again. I was sitting right next to Marcio.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So serve her again. Oh, that's weird.
Serve
her again.
I felt like I had a hex on me.
Who missed?
What the fuck is happening?
Kerri doesn't miss 3 in a row. Yeah. Serve her again.
Yeah. It was shitty.
How did you do it? How'd you work that handful of points? How many?
Well, in the moment, we were up 19-16 in game 1, and then we lost.
Yeah.
I think 21-19 maybe. Maybe we scored 1 point. I just
to the team that ended up winning gold.
No, they won silver.
They won silver?
We beat this team that had 10 times.
Was this a German?
No, we lost to Brazil.
Brazil.
I get that by Brett, and they got silver. Well, we're a better team. They're a great team. And they're
Yeah.
Brazilian, very steady, very crafty, very studied.
Great.
Like they changed. There's
great.
so many little, they're great.
Yeah.
They're great. Shitty night. Yeah. But in the moment, it was just like, hey, this is gonna pass. I got it. Here we go. And the same thing, second game.
You were working.
Yeah.
Like,
I wasn't
play one play.
afraid. No. It was weird. The next night I was afraid. Fucking so scared of that happening again.
Yeah, right.
When it's like everything in me knows I know how to play volleyball.
The next night, meaning the bronze.
Yes, the bronze.
Yeah. So you battled in that semis.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So you weren't like, oh my God, please go to April. Please.
No,
go to
I don't
April.
think so. I don't remember thinking that way. And not even in the bronze medal match. I never thought that. It's just like, okay, let's do it.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, fuck, again, what is happening? Like it was so confusing to me.
Yeah.
Because then mentally, I learned all the tricks that you taught me, you know, and I'm working on being in the moment. But at some point I just got
There's
numb.
no tricks.
No.
Tools.
The tools, excuse me. Sorry. The words matter. You're right. They're tools. But then at some point you recognize that I kept fighting. Right. And then at some point I had a conversation with Marcio on the side and he's like, no, you were a fighter. But that came like 6 months later. I didn't hear that forever. And the narrative in my head was, it's all your fault. You were so shitty. And you lost that for all of you guys, you know? And it's true. And it's ouchy.
How do you, it's ouchy, you said?
Oh, it's so painful.
Yeah, you are a radical competitor. And that's, you know it. The world knows it. I definitely know it. Marcio definitely knows it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been so fun to learn from you. I mean, a lot.
Oh, there's a lot of learning to do.
Yeah.
Which is my favorite part. And you've helped me reframe what competition means. And I'm so grateful for it. You know, I remember coming back from a world championships and I was describing like just these points of tension I was feeling in the big moments. And we had a conversation that there are no big moments. And I was like, bullshit, there's big moments. And I think, you know, whatever. But, and you were like, Kerri, you told me two things. You're like, Kerri, be mindful of the words you say. Because, you know, what you're talking about was a week ago. And in Europe, we're here in Hermosa Beach a week later and I'm feeling tension. He's like, so be careful how you're framing things. And I was like, that's huge. And then you're also like, instead of thinking something's a big moment and this is like do or die or it's whatever, just think of it as a competitive moment. And it was like, oh my God.
I can do that. I can
It was such a beautiful gift to me. And now that I can share with my children and everyone else in the world who's pursuing anything meaningful, it's just like, just compete. Like, and it makes me smile. And then at some point down the road, I literally did start smiling in competitive moments, being like, this is why I'm here.
This is my spot. Yeah.
So thank you for that. It all comes down to what? I want to hear your answer so bad.
Oh, okay. It's going to sound like probably I've asked this question a lot.
No, I know. What does it fuck with your head? Because I answer it every time you ask it. I answer it in my head.
Yeah. This is going to sound probably unsatisfying to you, but it comes down to this.
Probably not.
This moment.
Yeah.
And so, like, how well do you bring yourself honestly forward to this moment? And so, I know it's unsatisfying, but that's
it. That's the magic.
Oh, thank you for so much that you've shared, helped me learn and understand in an honest way. You are special, so thank you. Appreciate you, Kerri.
Love you.
Thank you
Very much.
Come on.